All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Market's about 30 minutes from opening up here, and you can see market, set to open up, about 10 points lower? About 15 points lower if we include fair value. And, this whole concept of as goes Apple, so goes the market. It's holding true, and in fact, yesterday, we saw Apple rally into the close, and so did the market. The market pushed on higher, and made a nice little pop up, and then you see this drop right here. Right, this drop happened after hours, just after the market had closed. U.S. President Trump, commenting on trade, basically said, that thinking about putting a 10% tariff on iPhones, getting that specific when it came to the trade war, to Apple and to iPhones. And so we saw Apple drop and S&P futures drop, just after. It wasn't something where they were dropping at the same time. Apple dropped first and then futures followed. And you can see Apple right here. And, came on down and down in the 171. Now, a couple things. It didn't break yesterday's low, which was really surprising to me. When I saw the headline come through and I looked, I went, oh, geez, this is going to be down $6. That has been the nature of Apple, is bad news, you're down $6. And, it fell, but was down $3, which was very different. Now, ultimately, it could still be down $6, but it did not break below yesterday's lows. And, I'm looking at it and kind of looking at everything going on, and okay, we'll see what what the morning brings. There's nothing you can do about it now. There's this morning, there's commentary or analyst chatter when it comes to Apple. We have the token downgrade of the price target because the analyst has the price target way too high, which we're going to continue to see those. But we have two analysts that have come out and basically said that this news from yesterday is almost a capitulation type of event or a bad news bottom, which is a common type of thing to happen. We'll see if that's the case. Ultimately, I do believe it could be, but it's not something that I'm holding my breath saying, yes, it absolutely is going to be. But it's one of those where if Apple can go green today, it is bottomed. If Apple can go green today, it's going to have a sizable bounce going forward. If Apple can go green today with the news on the iPhone, tariffs and DigiTimes cutting some of Apple's numbers as well, then investors are going to look at Apple and go, oh, okay, you know what? Finally. And be able to jump in if it's able to go green today. Now, that's all a big if, right? That's not it's going to go green today. But that's all an if type of component. So I have to look and I go, okay, when I have a position here, I have $700 on a position. Well, I guess it's a little more since it rallied into the close. What do I want to do with it? What do I do here with it? And do I take it off at the open? Do I let it go? What do I do? It's not one where I think there's any key level based on this news that I could say, oh man, this is, going to hold here and this is going to hold there. My delta on the position's about $86. So, $3 down, it's going to be about 240 down. So, it's not a disaster or anything like that, but it's also one of those where I don't want to let it get to that point. And something where I still think there's still some fantastic upside if it's able to go green. So I have not woken up with a decision on what I'm going to do with the trade. I know some think that I have a plan for every contingency that ever happens to any stock out there and what I'm going to do. But no, this is something where, this morning I'm going to have to kind of put a little bit of an eye on it. I'll see what happens. Generally, there's going to be an initial sell. And if there's an initial sell and bought back up, that's pretty positive. If it's an initial buy that gets sold off, the chance of being down $6 today is pretty high. In terms of the chart, we're going to be we're going to be coming back down here to the 172 area, but you can see what that looks like. I mean, from a chart perspective on the daily chart, that's just not all that much, right? That's just not doing a heck of a whole lot technically on the daily chart. On the hourly chart, though, which is why I made this trade and why I got in, is we started to break above that 7-hour. We started to see our stochastics move on higher. We're going to be coming back to this 172 area, gapping down below that 7-hour moving average. That's not what I want to see. That is something where the risk of further sell-off is high. And, so I'm going to have to kind of take a look at it at the open here, decide what I want to do. I do have a sell order ready, in case I do have to pull it off here around the open. Now, I'm not going to pull it off the second the market opens. We know it takes some time for options to open. But with Apple, it tends to open up a little bit sooner than most because it's a lot more liquid than most. But the spreads on it are probably going to be a little bit high here at the open. And we'll need to see those come down just a little bit there. Okay. Now we did see S&P futures last night rally after the Apple dip, and rally. You can see during the European session this big spike up about 22 points, and that got sold fast, and we're right back to where we were with the U.S. session. And when it comes to what's going on in Europe and Brexit and all of that, it's one of those that it's going to continue to be an ongoing element there for them, but I don't look at it as something that is ultimately hugely bullish or hugely bearish, but I do think that the trade talks that are coming out of the G20 conference right now are a big deal, and that's ultimately going to be, a big driver here for things. Now, Goldman Sachs put out a piece here this morning and basically predicting slower growth for 2019. Now, they're not exactly going out on the proverbial limb. This has been the concern for the market, that yes, the market's growing, yes, the economy is growing, yes, the data looks good, but it's growing at the worry is that it grows at a slower pace than what it has been growing, right? And we talked many times about this being a second derivative world. It's not about growing or contracting. It's about, are you contracting slower? Well, then that's bullish. Are you growing faster? That's bullish. But if you're growing slower, we're going to sell you because we're worried that we're going to go into a contraction phase. And that's just generally how the market, market ticks and how the market, beats its drum here. So Goldman Sachs coming out this morning and confirming that, but they also said something else. They said that the current period of growth will be one of the longest in history, and that they also don't expect that we'll see a recession. They see a slight risk of recession. So while slowing growth, they're not seeing signs of a recession coming into play. And that is something that investors are going to have to look at, going to have to assess. And something that, if we're not talking about the slowing growth turning into recession, and the market has already priced in any slower growth, and any type of positives are going to, get priced in sharply to the upside, going on forward here. Okay. So anyway, those are some of the things going on this morning. It's not one of those mornings with a million different things going on, but what's going on is right in the heart of what the market is concerned and worried about and ticking about, and it's one of those where we start to see yesterday's lows get taken out. That's gonna give the bears some fodder. That's gonna allow the bears to growl a little bit here. But despite everything that's going on overnight, we haven't seen those lows taken out. And will we? It's not going to take a whole lot to get that. But if those lows are able to hold, and the lows able to hold for most stocks out there, it provides a very nice platform, for stocks to be bought into, not just for the course of this week, but over the course of the next several weeks into year end, and some of that year end stuff that tends to be wild when it comes to some of the tax selling. So anyway, that's some of the stuff going on again with Apple. I'll decide what to do here. As it opens up, I probably will not be on video for it. I do want to be able to take a look at it with everything else without the distractions, and so I'll the alert will go out as soon as I get out, or as I get out. Since I already have it ready, I'll hit the sell order and the delivery order at the same exact time. And if I am getting out, my hope is that I don't have to. But at the same time, if I'm realistic about things, it's not something I'm willing to I'm not willing to draw a line in the sand and believe in Apple so much that I'm willing to hold it here, because I think it has a great snapback chance. I think the elements are there, but I need to see them come into play here this morning. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.